We are here at Michigan Stadium, the site of the redemption of Bill Landis. Bill, on Thursday, you ate so much pie.
Friday. Oh, Thursday. Oh, yeah.
I saw you tweet a photo of your face. It looked like you were dead from pie. How did you bounce back and come back at this game today?
I ate a lot of pizza on Friday and washed it down with some waffles on Saturday.
Congratulations to Bill Landis. Ari Wasserman also joining us here. I'm Doug Lesmerises for cleveland.com. Ohio State beat Michigan by a lot. Ari Wasserman, what you saw in the 112th edition of the rivalry, did it surprise you?
It did. I mean, it did a little bit. I mean, I picked Michigan to win. So
Didn't you go big?
it's like 24-14, and I picked that my outrageous prediction was that they would go for less than 175 yards.
Okay, we're not here to make fun of your prediction, but it's okay. We all get them wrong sometime. But that Ohio State came out and played their best game of the year.
Throw it back this way. What I think is interesting is that I'm not sure that, and I believe that they completely found themselves into the offense that they once were. What I think happened is they did what they couldn't do last week against Michigan State, and that was run the ball for 500 yards or whatever it was, 400 yards. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott and J.T. Barrett combined for 350 yards, and Barrett threw it 15 times, completed 9 times. Now, he made a few throws, but it's not like it was the full package of balanced offense that we saw in the playoff run last year. So while I am surprised that Ohio State was able to take control of this game and win by the margin they did and really put up the numbers they did on the ground, I'm not necessarily sure I am buying the idea that Ohio State's back, nothing bad happened, everything's fine, because I don't think it is. I just think that they beat a team that couldn't stop them on the ground. And when you look back at the way that Michigan allowed some other teams to rush, maybe we should have seen that coming, so that was my fault. But I'm not, yeah. Did I go?
I don't agree with that. I mean, like, as much as I think everybody's a homer, like, I think that was really good. And, like, I'm going to buy that was them not outthinking themselves, which I think they felt like they did last week, which was, well, we can't run, so we're going to stop running. And this week they could run, so they didn't stop running. So they didn't throw it. Urban Meyer wants 250 and 250 for yardage. Instead they got like 450 and 100. So, but I think that was a dominating performance against a defense that did have a couple injuries on the defensive line, but is a top 10 defense in the country, and they steamrolled them. And so I'm not surprised. I thought Ohio State had better players. I'm a little surprised maybe that it got that easy, but they did what I think they do at their best, which is wear people down. Yeah. And they did that certainly in the second half. And they never, I think, Ari, you make a point, they never really tested the Michigan secondary, which I think is a good secondary, but they didn't need to. But they didn't need to. And so I guess if the question is, will that beat Alabama? I don't know.
That's my, yeah.
But I'm not sure that whether that would beat Alabama or not is the question today. The question was more like, what is up with them? And I think they answered that question for sure.
I was surprised. Indiana ran for like 300 yards against Michigan, which I think was a red flag to some people. But Indiana also threw the ball in that game. Nate Sudfeld, I think, threw for close to 300 yards. I didn't think that Ohio State was going to be able to throw the ball enough to be able to run that way, if that makes sense. The passing game wasn't anything I don't think that we'd expected it to be this year. But it didn't have to be. They threw it as much as they had to keep Michigan back enough for Ezekiel Elliott to get 5 yards a carry. He had a 66-yard run. There were things that we've been waiting for that I didn't think were going to happen today because Michigan's defense I thought was really, really good. And I think we saw today that maybe it wasn't as good as we thought it was, especially up front. That defensive line of Michigan's got pushed around, especially in the second half. And the second half today at Michigan looked a little to me like it did at the end of last year when Ohio State was just running the ball at will with little regard for the defensive line in front of them.
Here's what I think in the end. Did that feel like the first Urban Meyer-Jim Harbaugh battle? Or did that feel like what the last decade of Ohio State-Michigan has been?
It's funny because the games that were supposed to be blowouts were close.
Right. 2 years ago.
2 years ago here, the 2-point conversion. And then the games that were supposed to be very close, like the Jim Harbaugh, it's like the games got mixed up. What we saw on the field was supposed to happen 2 years ago, and 2 years ago is supposed to happen today.
That is a valuable thing for Ohio State to have in his pocket right now, which is Jim Harbaugh is a great new coach. That looked like it's looked for a decade. and they'll carry that, as one of the players said after the game, for 365 days. Ohio State fans are going to be carrying that around. Whatever else happens in the rivalry is business as usual for Ohio State. Bill Landis, Ari Wasserman, I'm Doug Maurice. Lots of coverage here today from Michigan Stadium. Thanks, as always, for following us through the year. We don't know what the postseason holds, but we'll be there whatever it is. Live from Michigan Stadium, this is the cleveland.com coverage team.